Hey guys, and welcome back. So for today's video, I kind of wanted to raise awareness to the fact that actually beneath the surface of ADHD there are so many complex things that will, make day-to-day life challenging. So a lot of people will only see, oh, they look normal, there's no facial defects, but you can't see ADHD, and people are just so, obnoxious and still refuse to believe that just because you can't see it, obviously it can't be there. The thing is, just because you can't see it don't mean it's not there, because it bloody is. And just because you see a specific behaviour, there's many more reasons, triggers for that behaviour, and people are they just don't know enough about this. So like I briefly just said, ADHD is invisible. You can't see it. Same with autism. You just can't see them. They're neurological, they're up here. People just can't see it. And maybe we need to create some type of like X-ray vision. So yeah, people refuse to believe that it's even a thing. Obviously, if you can't see it, obviously it's not going to impact your day, is it? But what people do not see is what's going on inside us and our head. So, like a cake, there are so many ingredients that make a cake a cake. No cake is going to be the same. Some are strawberry jam,
raspberry jam,
chocolate ganache, lemon curd,
buttercream.
Every cake has maybe a different flavour, different layers. People kind of pick what flavours they like, and unfortunately,
ADHD isn't a flavour everybody wants.
I get it, okay. But what I want to get at is, just because you see all this loveliness in a cake, you don't think about all the ingredients that have to go together to make that cake. A person with ADHD or autism, for example, we have some extra ingredients. We might have a little bit more butter, a little bit more flour, milk, extra sugar. People don't see that. And those little extra ingredients, the cake just isn't going to be a cake. It's not going to create the cake that you want. So people kind of just assume,
oh, what is only ADHD? It's only autism.
But what they don't realise is these extra ingredients that we do have, they overflow, and they can create anxiety, depression, manic depression. I mean, I'm pretty impulsive and I have really bad trouble organising myself, but that is because of my extra ingredients in my brain. Or maybe even their lack of, whatever. Not every person is going to be the same flavour, not everyone's going to have the same recipe, not everyone is going to have the same ingredients. Some people might have more egg, people might have a gluten-free, some people are allergic to nuts or whatever. So everyone's recipe is going to be different. But just because these cakes, they might not have the same recipe, but they may come out looking the same, doesn't mean one is better than the other, or, oh, because it has no eggs, that one is just not going to taste nice. How do you know? You don't give it a chance. And this is what I was getting at. Just because you can't see ADHD or autism, people just naturally assume that we're normal. I mean, we are normal, but what I mean is normal. People just assume that because you can't see it, it's not there. And that's not true. We might not be able to focus very well on things that we may not be interested in. But when we are interested in something, we have this super cool power that allows us to hyper-focus. Bet you didn't know that, did you? So some things we don't have, but we have something even better. So what I just want to get at is everyone has different layers, different flavours, different ingredients, and that makes us unique. So it's what goes into us as a person and into a cake that kind of makes us who we are. When you have ADHD and autism, obviously there's going to be some extra added,
bonuses
to our personality, to who we are as a person. So underneath my skin and all my bones, there's a brain that struggles with impulsion, understanding emotions, when is appropriate to talk and when isn't appropriate to talk, like interrupting people, talking excessively, needing to be doing something 24/7, bored easily, and lack of focus. I mean, I could go on, but what I'm getting at is, I want people to realise that beneath the surface, just because you can't see it, doesn't mean that it's not there. So there are some behaviours that actually portray something completely different, and it can be a way of communicating. So let's get on to kind of talking about what goes on beneath our surface. So when it comes to ADHD, the things people will see are erratic mood swing, maybe a little bit more aggressive. There's impulsion, hyperactivity. People can actually see these things. Because they can see them, obviously they're there, and people will kind of recognise them and think, okay, obviously that's not normal behaviour, and people will recognise that and kind of almost accept it and just move on. But the things that people do not see are the things that go on underneath the surface that we mask, that we naturally may not choose to show people in society. We wait till we're in a comfortable, you know, comfort zone. You know, there are some behaviours that just go, you know, it's more than having to run around a room or being hyperactive or, you know, being aggressive, having mood swings, talking loud or talking excessively. You know, these sort of things, yes, you can see and you can hear, but there are so many different behaviours and feelings and things that go on beneath the surface that people just do not realise. So people will choose to see, you know, hyperactivity as a bad thing. People will choose to see maybe being over, you know, powering and talking a little bit as a bad thing. People will see, you know, you not being able to sit still, being inattentive as a bad thing. But it's not a bad thing at all. There are so many things that can be positive about ADHD. But, you know, people will see them and they will choose to make their opinion on how they think or how they feel about that specific trait that you have. Like I say, there's more than meets the eye to all of these things. Yes, I might be hyper, but have you asked me why? Have you asked me how I feel? No, because you can see that, you will judge it. And because you can't see how I'm actually feeling, again, you will judge it and try to believe that obviously it's not there because you can't see it. The quicker people learn and accept and educate themselves on that fact, you know, people will start to feel more accepted in society. People will see the obvious traits of ADHD, you know, like hyperactivity, inattentiveness, being really impulsive and kind of demanding. People will see them, but what they don't see is this. When you're being hyperactive, it could be for a multiple different reasons. Not everyone is going to be bouncing off the walls. There could be hypersensitivity, hypersexuality, hyposexuality, hyperfocusing. There are so many things that come with hyperactivity that you just don't know. Over talking people because you just want to, you know, you have something to say and you feel like you just have to say it now because otherwise you're just going to forget and you're just going to explode. But people, again, they can see that as a negative thing, but they don't know what's going on beneath the surface and the hidden traits of ADHD, the not so obvious things that are going on. So now we're going to talk about the not so obvious ADHD traits that go on beneath the surface. As a person with ADHD, I have many different traits, and I know people that have ADHD that they don't struggle or don't have challenges the same as mine. With this video, I'm going to try to be as diverse as possible when it comes to traits, because I know I am a female and my traits may differ to those of a male. It's not 100% scientifically, you know, proven. I'm a female and I actually have a lot of boy traits. I don't think there is a gender specific type of ADHD. I just think females are able to mask a lot more than males, and I think males are a lot more kind of, with their testosterone, I think they're more boisterous and hyper, and again, you can physically see that. But with females, there's a lot more like traits that are not the not so obvious traits of ADHD that kind of go unseen and a little bit kind of hidden. Here are some traits that you need to look out for with people that may not have the obvious traits of ADHD beneath the surface. So when you have ADHD, you are more likely to also have a coexisting kind of disorder. So that could be autism, bipolar, you know, dyspraxia, dyslexia, Asperger's. There are so many. And people with ADHD are also very likely to have another coexisting disorder. So, you know, this is another one that people might kind of just overlook and think, oh, it's just that's just on its own. But a lot of people with ADHD also have severe learning difficulties, and that can come in a range of different things, like, you know, speech delay, motor, your movement can be a little bit off, you may not walk as soon as someone without ADHD. So math can be a super hard thing for us ADHDers. The process, the having to remember formulas, things like that can be very difficult. Reading and writing skills may be below average for their age. Cognitive kind of processing speed can be super low and slow, and it can, you know, it can affect our confidence. It can lead to us feeling ashamed and dumb. So another one can be immaturity. So people with ADHD, they actually mature at a different rate, and actually someone of the age of 18 could still act like the age of a 12-year-old. So our maturity level may be a lot lower than actually what age we are. So I'm 22 and I've got to admit, I am pretty immature. I have moments where you think I'm probably like 5. So also children or people with ADHD may also find it very, very difficult to kind of learn from their mistakes. So the basic reward and behavior system may not always work, and you might be thinking like, what the hell, you know you shouldn't be doing that, or like, you keep doing this, I keep telling you to stop doing it. And the thing is, it can be very difficult for us to break the cycle of behavior because it can be our way of communicating. So repetitive behavior, very difficult to discipline, less likely to follow rules, kind of very defiant when it comes to people with authority, and they just don't learn from their past behaviors. And that could be a huge sign, but again, because people aren't aware of like what goes on beneath the surface of ADHD, it probably wouldn't even, you know, people probably wouldn't even pay attention to that. They'd probably just think this kid is just being defiant and it's not even listening to me. So this one is, it rings very true to me, and people with ADHD have very, very hard times trying to go to sleep. Me. So it's hard to fall asleep and it's hard to wake up and get yourself like motivated. Sleep disturbance is something that I just struggle with. Any like slight noise, I will wake up. Like, I don't have a restful sleep, and even when I'm asleep, I have really vivid dreams, like very vivid dreams, and I can recall those dreams for a couple of weeks after I've had them, and they feel very, very real. I just have a very hard time just shutting off, and again, that could possibly just be, you know, brushed aside, but it could also be ADHD. So definitely, like I say, it's worth looking into. So basically, this whole idea for this video was just to get the point across. You are not going to see many traits of the ADHD. It's going to be impossible for you to even see them because they're so, you know, inside of us. It's in our head, in our hearts. You know, many of these things will be invisible to, you know, the naked eye. People will not notice or like click on to, oh, that is actually a trait of ADHD, because they're not obvious traits of ADHD. So it's the things that you can't see are the things that cause us the most challenges, because you can't see them. People are not going to be able to help. People are not going to be able to assume because they just can't see. So these things are the things that, you know, I find most difficult because I have to mask them and kind of like try my hardest to hide them because they're not sociably acceptable. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out there because a lot of people will not know half of these traits even relate to ADHD, and there's so many more. And if you guys want me to do a more in-depth video of like many traits that go beneath the surface, let me know. So thank you so much for watching, and I really hope that you have learned something and taken something from this video, because I know that I wish I would have seen this a long time ago, because, well, let me just say, before I was diagnosed at 21, I didn't know half of these things even, you know, added up to ADHD. But the explanation is ADHD, and I now have that diagnosis, so it's definitely worth having a look and researching some hidden traits of ADHD, the not so obvious traits. So I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe to my channel. I'll forever be grateful if you can share and comment. Please do. I love your guys' engagement and getting back to me and talking. That's great for me. So I'll see you next time. Bye.